officially starting. Hi, Mike and Rachel. Thank you so much for taking this time to make this conversation possible. So, this chat is about performance anxiety and preparing for performances. And I'd love to hear you guys share some of your own experiences as well as how you prepare your students for performances. So why don't we start from maybe you guys share with me some of your own experiences, like maybe something that's still very impressive for you guys, and maybe some kind of milestones or self transformation points, you know, yeah, like when you prepare for performances, yeah. So,
Okay, well, when I was in college, it wasn't a matter of being nervous, but it was a matter of being aware. And that for me in college, it was being aware of the amount of adrenaline that would happen before a performance. And I found that for about a year, I was taking a lot of B vitamins, B6 and B12. My teacher said, well, if you get nervous, why don't you try taking some brewer's yeast tablets? And what that did was it helped me to never lose the adrenaline, because you want some adrenaline in a performance.
right.
But at the same time, you felt like you were controlling and being able to work with the adrenaline. And so I found that for me, as a senior in college, getting ready for performances, that I felt more comfortable taking B vitamins and then finding that I could do my memorization and not have as many problems.
So before that, you had some problems?
I wouldn't say I had problems. Let's just say I was aware of adrenaline and never quite felt like I was comfortable.
I see. So after you took those vitamins and B's, you felt like you could enjoy the music?
Yes. I felt like the adrenaline was there and I was able to work with it. And so I didn't feel like it controlled my performance. That instead, I had a set program and I knew what I wanted to do, and I was able to do it to a much better degree. And then what happened was then I eliminated the use of B vitamins or brewer's yeast and was able to feel that same way.
Wow.
And then as far as practice goes, I remember doing a performance of the Haydn C Major Cello Concerto with orchestra. And for about 3 months before, I did a lot of rememorization of the concerto. But probably the last few weeks, I was practicing my memorization of the concerto while I was watching TV.
Oh.
So I was watching, surprisingly enough, Itzhak Perlman play something on PBS while I was performing the Haydn C, or practicing memorization.
Right.
So it was a matter of can I be distracted by something happening around me and be able to perform still.
Wow. So you were doing some experiments.
Yes.
And it went well?
It did.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. And Parma was playing something completely different. Of course, he plays the violin.
Right.
And you were just watching the TV while practicing. You didn't miss any notes?
I didn't miss any notes. And then I was able to change the speed. This time I'm going to play slower. This time I'm going to play faster and see, can I continue to focus enough to be able to perform from memory.
Did you force yourself to look at the TV?
Sometimes.
But were your ears still on you yourself, or you were on TV?
No, it was on me.
Oh,
I mean, I had the sound on, but I had it down low.
Okay, just some kind of subtle distraction.
That's a great way of putting it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like mimicking the actual audience,
Right.
the possible sound or noise or distractions.
Right.
It can be. Okay. And then how did the performance go?
It went very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
I was very happy with
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Nice. All right.
And there have been some times that I have performed where there have been distractions.
Mm.
I remember that playing a couple performances with the Pops Orchestra in the park, where the audience was being loud or being distracted to, doing something else, and I'm hearing them, and I didn't allow it to interfere with what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you still taking the vitamins now?
I take them, but not to any extent like I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So gradually you don't rely on them that much.
That's correct.
Nice. That sounds pretty smooth, like a smooth transition.
It was. It was. I felt like if I can do it with the brewer's yeast, can I do the same thing without?
Mm-hmm.
And so with all of the performing that we do, I have lots of experiences to succeed or sometimes fail.
Mm.
But what I find is more important that if I do have a slip up, I know that I can control it enough to immediately get back.
Right.
We all fail. We all have a wrong note here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't beat yourself up about it. You have to immediately recover.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So how about you, Rachel?
Definitely shifting between my junior and senior year. I was up to that point, everything was just kind of fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're supposed to be starting getting to serious about things, being more serious about practicing and going to college and all the rest of it, I had a heavy dose of perfectionism that really got in my way. So I think I felt very focused as now a teacher of young students to try to decode a lot of that to help them so that they don't hit that point and not have any tools to know what to do. So all the students that I teach now, they do memorize everything. We talk about structure so that they learn, everything's a sandwich or A and B, or we have a whole system of how to practice things in line with what Mike was saying about the distraction. I'll have a student play a piece, and while they're playing a piece, I will ask them questions and they'll have to answer yes or no while they're playing.
Mm.
And then the next step is I will ask them how many fingers I'm holding up while they're playing, and they have to be able to keep playing and tell me if I'm holding up 10 or 4.
Oh.
And numbers are harder because often they're thinking fingerings.
Oh yeah.
So that can be, yes.
Yeah.
And then the last step, like the master step, is when I ask them questions and they actually have to say words. So I say like, what's your favorite color? Or what's your dad's name? Or the best one is what's your phone number? So they have to actually say numbers while they're playing different fingers. So already we're introducing that concept of muscle memory. There are so many people that are a lot smarter about it than I am, that I try to read all the things that I can read and go to conferences and get a lot of ideas. Generally, I think there are the 3 kinds of learning where some students really rely heavily on their musical memory, their ear to help guide them through, and other people are definitely more interested in the organization of the structure of the piece. Some people visualize, they can see what page they're on. I haven't had any students with a photographic memory yet, but I'm waiting for that day. But you visualize a page, and then the kinesthetic part, and that one is pretty fun actually. You can have a student play, for example, Go Tell Aunt Rhody, but you make their A purposely out of tune, and they have to play the right fingers without tuning them. So, so Go Tell Aunt Rhody doesn't sound like Go Tell Aunt Rhody, but they're not altering their fingers, they're actually just remembering the fingering that they're playing. So it's rough sounding, but it gives them the idea that we're actually remembering where our muscles go and not letting our ear always be our guide. And usually a student is very comfortable with one and has a second place, and then there's a third place. And if we can make those a little more even, I think that's helpful. But I was just actually working with a high school student now, and she's quite shy, so we kind of went through some of the things that I found that were helpful for me, including, humming, which stimulates your vagus nerve, and that can be a really good way to kind of help calm down, or the physical things of tilting your bow a little bit more if you feel like your arm is a little bit shaky. A lot of it is trial and error for you personally, but there are a lot of things out there that can help. I did some online training recently with Jennifer Roig Francoli, which is Alexander technique, that they call it primal Alexander, so it's not hands-on, it's hands-off. So, and that involved listening to some of her sessions and then having a one-on-one conversation. So I really have tried to do the work, because every student, I think, will hit a point where it's not as easy as it used to be, and then you can have things to tell them that will help. There is help, and then the last thing is, and it was the first thing that I said when I talked to the fellows, is that you should go to the doctor, because I think going to college, growing up, all those things come in, and you think, well, I'm changing, I'm getting older, I have hormones, all those things sounds like excuses, but it's actually happening. But actually I had real things that were off with my vitamin levels. My vitamin D level was way too low, I was anemic. Like, there are like actual physical things that can heighten your anxiety that you should know about. And some of them are not things that you have to take medication for, you just have to take your vitamins and then do things that help give you strategies to help calm yourself when you need it.
I see. Wow. Well, those methods you just talked about, I've never heard of that. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
like the fingers and talking words.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing, and in the practical sense, sometimes I'll have the parent, they have to create a distraction while the student is playing. So they're playing, and then the parent will be dancing around the room or start to tickle them, or little things. Sometimes I will play a different song at the same time as they're playing, and they'll have to try not to get distracted. Or the best one is if I actually play the same piece they're playing, but I start slightly earlier or later.
Okay.
And they have to try not to catch up with me or to slow down with me. Or I'll play the same piece faster than they're playing, and they have to go their tempo. Like, all those things really kind of create, I think when we get older, we are practicing by ourselves, which is totally not how performance is, right? So we get quiet, we want to be able to concentrate. Life's not like that. So we need it that way at first, but then we have to transition out of it. And I liken it to when you look in your garden, if you look from far away, the landscaping looks beautiful, and if you get up close, there are a lot of weeds, right? So you want to weed your garden. That's your earliest step. You're weeding your garden. You're pulling out the stuff you don't want, the wrong notes, the wrong rhythms, sounds that aren't beautiful. But if you're only focused on the weeds, if you only see the weeds, you don't get the landscape. So as you get closer to your performances, you have to be willing to let a weed grow here or there and keep the bigger picture. And I think for me personally, I got so focused on fixing everything that was wrong that I never got back to shifting to enjoying what was right. And so I try to not be that person for the students, to show them that they can be picky, and then they have to let go at some point.
Sure. So you talked a lot about like the distractions, how to practice with these distractions existing, and then try to still do your own thing. How about on the other hand, like the distractions from themselves, like their mind? Like, do you ever have students come into you, both of you, like right before the performances, like right before or maybe a couple of days before? They are there, they are ready, but then they come to your lesson or something, and they're freaking out. I don't think I can do the performance. I don't think I'm ready. I think I'm gonna mess up. And then they just look so upset. Did that ever happen to you guys? And if yes, then how did you calm them down and help them out?
I think with me, it was my teacher talked to me about a colleague of his who was principal cellist of the Chicago Symphony,
Mhm.
and he was also a baseball player. And he said he would practice so much that when he got to the performance or before the performance and he was thinking about something else, that sometimes was a good thing.
Mm.
That if he was so prepared that his brain was telling him, oh, I wish I was out playing baseball instead,
Mm.
and still being able to perform, that's okay to have that voice in your head. So to tell the student that it's okay for you to feel anxious, but let's talk about ways for you not to be anxious. That it's all right to feel the way you are, but possibly doing some breathing exercises or some possible pressure points on the head or the neck, or some Alexander Technique things to relax your body will be very helpful. And it's okay to listen to those voices in your head sometimes.
Mhm.
But if they are making you feel anxious, then you need to step back and do a little bit of some breathing exercises, some stretching on the floor, or possible pressure points behind the ears or in front of the ears are very helpful for that. And I find that it's mostly about focus
Mm.
than it is about distractions. That what you have to be able to do is to think, before the performance, what is it going to be like? How are you feeling at this moment where you've had some problems with the fingering? Well, maybe you shouldn't worry about that and try to find a way to go, I'm not going to allow that to happen in your head while you're performing that.
I think with anxiety comes racing thoughts. I mean, I think that's just what happens. So, but you actually have control over how you respond to that. And I think musicians are not very nice to themselves. So, you know, when that voice is like, man, I don't know if you're going to get that shift, or like, what if you play, you know, and a lot of times, when we hear those voices, I mean, like even leading up to a performance, I'll imagine something maybe isn't going to go well, and then I have to just tell myself to stop, like just stop, because
Right.
and you have to kind of talk yourself through. I don't have to imagine the worst thing that's going to happen. I can actually imagine it going well, but it takes practice in doing that.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of really negative self-talking that the students do to themselves, and I think we like to think that we can give them the confidence, but we cannot. We can only teach them how to tell themselves how to do it better.
How to recognize it first.
Yeah, first, yeah, and I think a lot of times they don't realize how mean they are to themselves. Like they're really mean, and they don't deserve it. Like they can tell themselves that, you know, they have work to do. We all do, but they're not terrible, right? Or
I tell myself and my students, you've got this.
yeah.
When I reach that point, oh, that went well, but I've got that measure coming up. You just go, I've got this. I've practiced it enough. I've got this. It's time for me to just enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done it to myself too, and I remember the first time I was getting ready for performance, and I was, you know, telling myself bad things, and I counted how many times I told myself to stop doing that, and it was like 100 times. I mean, it was like a lot. And then the next time it was like 20.
Oh,
Which was much better.
yeah.
Yeah, and so just by not having bad conversations with myself, I think you set yourself up a little bit better. And then, you know, prior to a performance for my young students, and I took this from teacher training that I did, so I didn't invent it, but they need to have their piece memorized at least 2 to 3 months before the performance. And then I have them 3 weeks before the performance they do the whole recital routine 3 times a day, which involves at our school, my name is Rachel, I will play Go to Aunt Rhody, taking a bow, and then playing, freezing at the end, and taking a bow, and then that's one complete recital routine. They do that 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Then the week of the recital, they do it 7 times a day.
Oh, wow.
Now, of course, when you're playing Bach E major preludium or something, when you're playing longer pieces, maybe they won't get to 7 times a day, but they'll do it more. And they'll remember, when I have this system, I work towards 3 times a day, 3 times a day. And when they take that bow, their body remembers, this is the time that I play through. I don't get to stop and fix anything. No one's going to tell me this note's out of tune. They're focused on the actual routine of it, which I think gives our body comfort. That's why we like rituals. That's why we have an organization to our day. It's all those things. So I try to make it that there's a ritual for performance that their body recognizes, so that when they get up there, it doesn't feel different than when you're in the practice room. And I also think when I practice, I'll imagine sometimes how nervous I will be, so that I'm practicing strategies beforehand. You don't want to be dealing with it and trying to figure it out at the same time in front of a room full of people. You want to actually have practice strategies before you get there. So if it happens, you're prepared.
Right.
And if it doesn't, you're grateful.
I had a really good conversation with the cellist from the Verona Quartet 2 years ago. He was teaching here at LSM, and I was really beating myself up for missing a shift in a performance. And it was a shift that I had made 100 times. And I missed that one note. And he was trying to tell me, Mike, you need to give yourself grace. You need to tell yourself, it was just one note. And then he had told me about an experience that he had working with Stephen Isserlis, the great cellist in England. That he asked Stephen Isserlis, do you ever feel that way, like you're beating yourself up? And Stephen Isserlis replied, he said that he was working on the Haydn Cello Concerto in D major, and then he was performing it a lot, and he never felt comfortable with that piece until about the 7th time that he had done it. And to me that says, yes, you need to give yourself the grace to occasionally miss a note. That it's going to happen, but it shouldn't cut yourself off from being musical. And I just told a student earlier today that if there is a mistake that is made, which is okay, that instead of retreating and cocooning yourself for the rest of the performance, to do just the opposite, to feel like you're expanding and you're not going to let that one note interfere with the rest of the performance.
For when students that are very mistake shocked, they don't want to make any. I actually tell them I'm looking forward to making 3 giant mistakes. I'll tell you, please make 3. I'll count. If you make more, it's okay, but I need to hear at least 3.
Oh.
And sometimes just giving them permission to make a mistake kind of cures them from being afraid of them. So it's a lot of psychological stuff and some physical, but every student is different, and I think the pressure really does come from within, but I do think teachers can damage students too if they aren't listening to what the student needs to help them to go forward. I hope I haven't damaged anybody. I don't think I did. I don't think I did.
I'm now on the kick of telling the students at the very beginning that this room has hundreds of wrong notes plastered into the paint, and there will be 100 more, and that's okay, because this is the place where you get to do that, and that helps them to breathe.
And I think we can be a victim of the shoulds. I should be playing better, I should be practicing more, I should be doing this, I should be at a different point at this point in my development, right? The shoulds are very, very dangerous. Like, you have to just be where you are, have an idea of where you want to go, and then put steps in place or find someone to help you put steps in place to help you get
Yes.
there. But there's really no should. You just play the way you play.
Mhm.
And I remember at one point my teacher said, "Why you're trying to change things all the time?" He's like, "I like the way you play. I'll help you play better." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
how about
You don't
that?"
have to change.
Yeah, you don't have to change everything. You don't have to do it all like someone else. Your hand isn't like everyone else's, you know?
And there's nothing shameful about
No,
the way you play or making a mistake.
no.
As a matter of fact, there was one performance, and you know it well, that one of our colleagues brought his phone into lunch to play that mistake for everybody to hear. And he started laughing because he said, "You've got to hear this. This is hilarious." And he played the mistake, and we all started laughing. And I just thought,
Yeah,
what
it didn't-
great for
It
me.
didn't detract anything from the performance, of course. And it
No.
was funny.
It was. It was so fresh to be able to say, I made a mistake, but it doesn't matter because the performance still came off so musical.
Sometimes we just, I love all what you guys just talked about. Musicians, especially, actually both students and professionals, we can be hard on ourselves, especially right before performances. And it will be so beautiful if we can be nicer to ourselves and accept where we are, and who we are, and what we already have. And then also the other important thing is positive talk. Always talk to ourselves positively,
Mhm.
especially before
Absolutely. It's programming.
performances.
It's
Right.
programming. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't program your brain well, no one else can do it for you.
Right. Yeah. And the other important thing is to practice performance, right?
Yes.
Practice
It's different.
yeah, you feel completely different when you do the performance practice and from when you just practice.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel different.
Because I tried to I would practice more because I wanted performance to feel just like practice. And then when I did this training with Jennifer Roy Francoli, she's like, "It'll never feel the way it feels in the practice." And I'm like, "Oh!" Like, I'm trying to make it the same. And the thing is, I should have been trying to make the practice room feel like the performance, not make the performance feel like the practice room.
Right.
Like, it was never going to work that way. But I really tried for a long time. It didn't work out. But I really tried because I thought there was something wrong if I couldn't make it the way it felt. But everything feels different. And she's like, "Of course
yeah.
it's going to feel different."
Right.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I suppose if everything goes right, then when you perform or when you practice performing, you should feel better
Mm-hmm.
than actually practice because then you're really, you're not so aware of those weeds, as you said, but the more bigger picture
The bigger picture.
and the music and the art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for this nice conversation and sharing your thoughts and experiences.
It's our pleasure. It really
I
is.
personally learned a lot too.
Well, and we'll do another one where we'll just be quiet and you'll tell us all the stuff you know. Because when you're in school, really, like, every day is a learning experience, hyper focused. So I bet you have a lot of things we don't know. We want to
Oh
know.
yeah, I think I'm still exploring myself on so many things in so many ways and trying out possibilities and performing. Performing for students that's a really hard thing, much harder than those professional musicians because
Yes.
we don't have many opportunities actually.
Mhm.
We have maybe studio class once a week, and the final recital once every semester.
Mhm.
That's it,
Mhm.
no more. And studio class we perform one piece every 2 to 3 weeks because we have to practice the harmonic notes and get ready. So each semester, 4 months, we get maybe 4, 5 performance opportunities. That's it.
It's not very much.
No, and I have heard and I believe that the more you perform, the better you get it.
Mhm.
Of course it is, but the question is, does everybody have that many opportunities?
Right.
So, for us, it's every performance counts. Like, you have to figure things out, especially mentally. You have to find out what wasn't going right, what was going right, and then you need to adjust yourself for the next one. And hopefully, before the next time, you don't forget about it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you always have new material.
Right. Yeah, because we have those recitals, juries. We have to prepare 3, 4, 5 pieces, and then we have to perform them each individually because student class is an hour, and like
You
four
can't do
people
all.
want
Mhm.
4 people want to perform. You cannot perform all, blah blah. So there are lots of limitations and not enough opportunities, not enough audiences to sit there and make you better.
Yes.
So yeah, and this is actually why I'm making this video because me myself, am experiencing this kind of things, and also many of my friends, they're experiencing the same things, and so I'm trying to explore, different possibilities, different approaches to adjusting yourselves to a good performance status, like to fully express ourselves.
Mhm.
Because the performances sometimes they can we can find our limits, like it's only like 60% of me was expressed just now, sometimes only 50, sometimes 80.
Yes.
That's an improvement, sometimes 90, but it's just so difficult to express 100%, like what you want to say,
Right.
because there are so many restrictions when you get onto stage, and that comes from all the distraction from audience, and also all the distractions like the voices you mentioned from yourself, and so like how to calm yourself down.
Yes.
That's like the essential solution we need to work on. So anyways, thank you so much again for this great conversation, and I wish you both have a great rest of the journey in your career in the future, and
Thank you.
help out more students on their journey too.
It's a joy.
Yeah, and there's always something to learn.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Even at my age.
Oh yeah. It's always live and learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Till the very end. Right?
And play with better players. I think
Yeah.
Always.
always try to play with better players
Mhm.
because it makes you better.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Okay, this one is still going. This one's still going.